Howdy AdWords fans, and welcome back to this exciting chapter where we're going to talk about adding new ad groups and really starting to develop our campaign to something which is representative of a highly professional and highly targeted account. So we left off last chapter where we had these keyword lists that we created, and remember we spoke about the idea of thematically related keywords, and now that we've created our themes and our lists based on our overall product identifiers such as rolling, modern, colorful, and so on and so forth, we now want to get these keywords into our account. So the first thing we need to do is prepare our current account and clean things up a little bit and get them ready for importing our new keywords. So we're going to jump over into AdWords, and here we have our account. And if you remember, we had added these keywords from the display planner, from the different ideas we did in our keyword research stage, but now we want to go ahead and pause this ad group. And it seems counterintuitive, but we're going to make way for cleaner ad groups. If you notice in this data section and above here, we're going to talk about these tabs in further detail shortly. But if you notice, there's nothing that shows us our ad group tab. And that's because we are already in the ad group view as indicated in this left-hand menu. In order to get back to our ad group view, where we could see all our ad groups, we need to either click over here, which is our campaign name, or alternatively, we could click up here on all campaigns. I usually like to use the left-hand menu. It's just the way I got used to doing it, but you could develop however you'd like to navigate throughout the AdWords account. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on our campaign name, which is Poppin' USA Furniture. And now I'm still on my keywords tab, showing me all the keywords in this campaign, but I now have the option to navigate back to my ad groups tab by clicking on this button. So here I am in my ad group view, and I could see that here my ad group is desk chairs. Now I want to pause this ad group. To pause an ad group, you could do one of two things. I could either click on this drop down menu where the green light indicator, which indicates enabled, it's the status indicator, and I could choose to pause or remove this ad group. There's a difference between pausing and removing. We'll talk about that further in more depth a little later, but in general, the simple difference between pausing and removing is pausing, you could always re-enable the account, the ad group or keyword or campaign later. Whatever you pause, you could always re-enable. When you remove something, it totally deletes it from the account. You could still see it, but it's not going to be able to be re-enabled later. And because I have no need to re-enable this ad group later, I'm actually going to decide to remove it. And I could either click on removed over here, or I could select the ad group by clicking the checkbox and going to edit, remove. So there's two different ways to remove that ad group: edit, remove, or just using this drop down. When you're going to be pausing or removing multiple ad groups at once, it's always going to be easier to select them. And then you could do a bulk edit by pausing and removing all the ones selected. In our case, since we just have one ad group we're removing, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the green light and hit removed. Google's going to ask me, do I want to permanently remove this ad group? And I'm going to click OK. And now it's removed. If I get a notification that your updates have been saved, and I can always dismiss that, or it will go away on its own. In order for me to see a view of just my active ad groups, I could either click on all but removed, all enabled, and they will both show me nothing right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on all but removed, and you'll see that I have no active ad groups, no enabled or paused ad groups. If I want to go ahead and see all my ad groups, even the ones that have been removed, I could change this selector to all, and then my removed ad group will show up again. For the sake of cleanliness, I always choose either all enabled or all but removed. And in our case, that doesn't make a difference. So we could go ahead and click all enabled and we'll see nothing. And now what we want to do is create a new ad group, because we're going to start getting ready for our ad group lists and our keyword lists that we created in Microsoft Excel. And to get the name, we'll go down the list, we'll go back to Excel. And here we have rolling. So why not make rolling our very first ad group? So I'm going to go ahead and prepare that. Go back to Google AdWords, and I'm going to click this button over here is for creating a new ad group. Whenever you want to create a new ad group, this red button is going to be the button you want to use. And make sure to remember that you always have to be at the campaign level in order to create new ad groups. So I'm going to click Add Ad Group, And now I have a very similar view to what we saw initially when we first created that first ad group. And that's going to make things really easy for us because we recognize this already. And I know that my ad group is going to be called rolling. Now I don't need to signify that this is talking about desk chairs. That's because we structured this campaign really well, or this account really well, where the campaign we're in now is all about desk chairs. So everything under this campaign is going to be desk chairs, and I want to identify this ad group by its action term or its identifying term or its modifying term, however you want to talk about it, but the primary attribute of this ad group is going to be rolling. So I know that all the keywords in this ad group will be variations of queries including the word rolling in them. So I'm going to name my ad group rolling. The type of ad I'm creating over here is going to be a text ad. We'll talk about dynamic search ads, mobile app engagements, and call-only ads in further chapters, but 9 times out of 10, what you're going to be creating in search campaigns are text ads, and that's selected by default, so just leave that selected and you'll be fine. And here we have our area where we write our first ad for the ad group. We're going to be able to go ahead and create additional ads later once we save the ad group, but we need to first create at least one ad group. So we want to create our headline, and it'll be great to include rolling somewhere in our headline, because remember, the whole point of segmenting out our ad groups in this way by identifier is to include personalization and context in the text of our ads. If somebody goes to Google looking for a rolling desk chair or a rolling computer chair or a rolling office chair, and our ad talks to their exact query, it'll be much more relevant to the user and we'll get a much higher chance of receiving a click. So we want to talk about rolling chairs. And the headline, once again, remember, is the most important part of the ad. So we want to think about, do we want to qualify? How do we want to appeal? So because we're in a competitive niche and, the marketing director at Poppin told us that we don't have an unlimited amount of money to spend, we're going to go ahead and use price as a qualifier in the headline of our ad. So let's see what we could figure out.